It's the last of my pre-recorded uploads for my away time at MetroCon, though technically, if you're watching this on Monday, I just got back from MetroCon, but I'm counting on the fact that I'm only going to have enough energy for my post-con vlog, and that's pretty much it before I slip into the coma. So we're going to assume I am currently completely unconscious and dead to the world right now, and just make sure I have another review just to keep you guys tied, well and kept until I can actually recover. So I'll see you sometime in September. But for now, let's look at RID Drift. The new RID, but there was no drift in the first RID, so I guess this one actually kind of works. As you can see, kind of based on the movie, he is a very sleek, super expensive looking sports car. Kind of Bugatti-ish, but not quite. It's a little bit bulkier than that and a little bit sharper in some spots than that. Just enough to keep the trademark lawyers off of Hasbro. Cast in very bright orange, and this is kind of the fascinating thing to me. It's like, there's been, Drift, as far as Transformers go, is a relatively new character. IDW came up with him, but we've already had Drift in 3 different incarnations of Transformers, and all 3 have completely different ideas of what the character should be and what it should look like. The vehicle mode, of course, is based on how he looked in the movie, but this super bright orange and the black going through here is definitely a unique take on Drift. Paint detail, a lot of the paint here is being kept to the top because this is all translucent. So, of course, they had to paint that in to make sure the windshields looked right. And there's some extra paint details going through here for the black, a little bit here for the orange. The headlights get some metallic blue, and he gets a crest, which looks like the one on his helmet. I think that's kind of clever to make that the hood ornament as well. So, detail-wise, since this is an RID toy, it's kind of thin. There's some molded details here, and most of it is kept to the front end of the toy, where there's a lot of really sharp lines, a lot of deep grooves. But once we go beyond that, it gets pretty basic. You can see door handles molded in, and a little bit of a back view window here, though it's not painted. The rear view mirrors are there, and you can see the back is just really plain. You could see spots where taillights would theoretically be, but of course they aren't there. Also, smallest spoiler ever. Engineering-wise is where I kind of draw my complaints about this vehicle mode. A lot of people, and even the stock photograph, have some problems getting this top piece all the way down, and I have that problem too. You can see some gaps between these windows and the doors, and it's even worse on the other side for mine. It's all because it's not quite pegging in. The shape just isn't there, or the grip on the pegs just isn't good enough, so it's not holding together like it's supposed to. And some have been better, some have been worse. I know people who don't have that issue at all, but I definitely do, so be warned, it's not going to be the cleanest of vehicle modes. The other thing, and this one's probably all mine, he rolls like a brick. Now, I'm trying to figure out why, and the back wheels work fine, so I thought something was dragging in the front, but I looked underneath, and everything is, everything here, it looks like it sticks out underneath the tires. It doesn't. The tires are definitely the lowest thing. They're just so badly pegged in, because they're these new style, cheapo, pegged-in wheels. They don't want to spin. This one is completely stuck. I gotta have to unplug it, take some paint off, and plug it back in. Annoying just to make a car roll. You can see on the underside he does have weapon storage. Hey, I remembered weapon storage this time. Let's go ahead and get that out of the way so we can clear it up for transformation, which it is RID. So the nice thing I like about RID is transformation is simple, elegant, very, very easy to do, which of course is because it's the kid-friendly brand. So we're going to start by folding out what will be the feet, and then we will take off these big hunks so you can see that this is, that's how much was actual clear plastic shell, and that's what was giving us so many problems in trying to get it all together. So that done, we can loosen these up and get the arms out of the way. unfold these and get them extended out. There's a double hinge in there to give some added length to the arms and clear the elbows of all the extra parts. You can rotate the chest all the way around. This time we can split the legs. Then we'll take this piece all the way to the back, this piece to the front, straighten up the head, and boom, just like that. Drift is fully done in robot mode. And we will adjust the camera just so you can get them all in view. And here we have Drift in his very samurai-ish robot mode. As you can see, much like most of the RID toys, it's very simplified. You can still see some parts from vehicle mode kind of hanging off of him, but I don't think he came out too bad. Like, for being a simple and hollow-ish toy, he actually manages to pull it off really well. We are, of course, going to start with a look at the head. And now that it focused in, you can see there's actually some attention to the head that I don't think the others got. Mold-wise, yeah, you can see the samurai helmet here, and he's kind of an older samurai, as opposed to the young samurai in RID and the whatever he was in Age of Extinction. But it's still three very distinct characters going on amongst all of these drifts. I do like the heavy crest, and I do like the goatee and the mustache he's rocking. What impressed me, what I noticed, was that little bit of black lining all the way around the helmet's edge. That's a nice touch. Like, I didn't expect that tiny little detail, especially considering there's much bigger details on other RID characters that didn't get painted. Speaking of, Drift is no different. The paint does just kind of stick to one color and large surfaces, so a lot of the little details present in the show are missing. You know, someone hit up a customizer or repro labels if you really, really want to. The black from vehicle mode is still present here. It does do a nice job breaking up the orange, and a little bit more for the knees as well. Arms completely black. I could have used a little bit of extra color there, but yeah, whatever. The orange is very hard to overcome even for black, so it kind of works out. Strangely enough, there's actually a little bit of gray showing through. You know, the only other part of the toy like that is the face, so that was kind of weird just to kind of notice. Engineering-wise, comes up looking pretty clean. There's no real backpack, and the only kibble is hanging off the back of his legs. But you'll notice, not only does it have a specific spot to peg in, it also comes flush to his feet. So it forms the ankle, it forms the heel spurs. This does exactly what I thought Bumblebee's toy should do. And despite how many people told me, oh yeah, Bumblebee's toy does what that one does, no, it doesn't. I've tried. I would have to break a hinge in order to actually fold his kibble down like this to form heel spurs. He can't stand up. Drift can. It's all in the engineering, and it works here. It doesn't work in Bumblebee. So there's no excuse. The Bumblebee toy is disappointing. But Drift, not so much. I'm happy with Drift. Between big feet and those heels, there's nothing knocking him down, which is good for a samurai character. Articulation-wise, the head does rotate, though because of the big helmet in the back, it extends very toward the back a long way, so it's very traditional samurai helmet in that sense. It doesn't rotate all the way. You can see he did have a waist joint. It's up at the torso, but that's okay. He does have some good hinges on the arms, which does allow him a good range of motion. It's actually a hinge here and a ball joint in the torso, so a little bit of working together. Bicep swivel, and he does have two elbows, but it really only amounts to about a 90-degree bend, just because that's how the parts get in the way. And you can also fold the wrists in, should you want to. The armor does fold out of the way to give you much more clearance on the thigh swivels, though they do still kind of interfere if you want to go all the way forward, which isn't a very necessary pose. Rotation just above the knee. The knee itself gets almost 90 degrees, and no ankle tilt. It is sculpted to naturally let him splay just a little bit for a more natural stance, but no actual tilt in any real direction. Even the forward and back, there's such a heavy faux ratchet. There's not a whole lot to do with it. But he does all right. Now, For a cheap little toy like this, I say cheap, these things are way too expensive on the shelf for what they do. He's not bad. Like, I'm perfectly okay with him. The only part that gets me is the articulation. I wish the articulation in the arms was better because, of course, he's a sword-wielding bot. We can go ahead and slot those in. They go in very easily, and they hold very nicely. It is very good and appropriate for him. And I'm glad they didn't just give him the same sword twice. I'm glad they gave him a short and a long. That's a nice little touch. And it's a little bit more proper as far as a dual-wielding samurai goes. Speaking of which, when you're done with them, the side does have some grooves, or rather these little holes that I've set aside that can slot in both swords at once, so you can also have him at the ready. That's a nice touch. I'm happy they did that. But that's pretty much all you got. RID toys, very basic unless you're buying one of the gimmick lines, in which, of course, we'd already be done with this review because it's like one button, done. But that is Drift, and I'm quite happy with him. Like, as I said, every Drift is a different flavor of samurai robot, and I quite enjoy this one. He's kind of the old sensei style samurai, and looks quite good doing it. The bright orange is unique, and the molding is actually quite good. And I'm despite some grievances with the engineering for the vehicle mode, some things that don't fit together quite well enough, I can't help but like the efficiency of how an RID toy transforms. So, I don't know, he gets a pretty good grade from me. I think he's worth picking up if you're curious about the RID line. Just, don't expect them to get a whole lot better than this guy. Of course, I haven't played with Jazz yet, so opinion's still out on that.